All right, what's going on, guys? Trev back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing another Walking Dead video for today, leading up to tonight's episode for The Walking Dead Season 9. In this one, we're going to start things off by giving our thoughts on Norman Reedus saying that originally he thought he'd only last an episode or two. And spoiler warning, of course, if you are not cut up for The Walking Dead, which is up to The Walking Dead Season 9, Episode 10. So Episode 11 is tonight, and I thought we would definitely do at least one more Q&A before tonight's episode to go over a few final questions before we get to see it, and then, of course, the review tonight. All the usual stuff afterwards, predictions and all that fun stuff with the Q&As as per usual. So I thought this one was kind of cool to lead things off with for today. And that is that Norman Reedus said in a recent interview, links in the description, that he originally thought he would only last an episode or two. So it says, The Walking Dead's Norman Reedus will soon overtake former leading man Andrew Lincoln for most episode appearances in The Walking Dead. But the star initially believed he'd only be around for, quote, an episode or two. And he says here, I came on The Walking Dead on the third episode of the first season, and that cast was already super tight-knit, Reedus told the off-camera show. Then it says they'd already been publicly touring or doing publicity tours, and they were like the core group, and they were all best friends. Everyone's kind of looking at me like, who's this new guy? This is our show. So it sounds like he was kind of an outsider when he first kind of came on. Then it says they'd be together for a year, or they'd been together for a year, rehearsing and doing a press junket around the world. It was being amped up as a thing. It was original showrunner Frank Darabont. It was AMC executive producer Gale Anne Hurd, heavy hitters. And so we're doing this scene, and I got to come in and get in the main guy's face. And it's a whole thing, and everybody's protective of the main guy. They're all his buddy, Reedus said. I assumed I'd be there a couple of episodes, maybe an episode or two. Reedus admitted, explaining he molded his performance around his feeling of being an outsider or as an outsider. Came in and I say these lines, feeling a bit nervous about it, and I turn around, the whole cast, there's 15 people looking at me like, what are you going to do? Judging me, and I immediately got a little chip on my shoulder and felt like, oh my God, they hate me, Reedus said. And I started talking out of the sides of my eyes. I didn't really connect like, you hate me? I hate you too. So, and that's how I found that character. I started doing that, and the character slowly went from this sort of side-eyed thing to slowly, when he means something now, talks to you in your face. You can believe what he's saying to you. He wears his heart on his sleeve. He's not a bullshitter. And then it says, Reedus took Daryl from a straight-up liar thief to a trusted protector of the group and Rick's eventual right-hand man after getting out from under Merle's abusive influence. And then it goes on to say, I mean, the whole thing about the two brothers on that show, they were there to rob that group, not to join the group. They were there when they go to sleep. We're going to rob this place, Reedus continued of the backstory he helped create. Then it says, and it slowly became sort of naturally the progression of this guy standing on his own 2 feet, and he wouldn't have been that guy if the apocalypse didn't happen. He'd have been his brother. Then it continues to say, Merle shaped Daryl in more ways than one. Daryl was tailor-made for Reedus, who boarded the series late after its roles, including Merle, had already been cast. And I remember hearing in news that he actually auditioned first for Merle, didn't get it, and then they created the character of Daryl for him, I guess, because maybe they liked him, or they just maybe thought that made sense. You know what's funny is, if you think about it in terms of the writing, it might have been as simple as they needed the group to go back into the city like after for part of the season 1. If you guys remember season 1, Merle, you tied my brother to a roof and you left him there. So Rick ties or handcuffs Merle on the roof, and then of course they go back and they have to tell Daryl. So it's almost like maybe they even put Daryl in to get them to go back in. You know what I mean? To go to try to see if they can rescue Merle. And that's really funny. Like, originally, if you think about it, Daryl actually might have been a filler character, right? Like, Daryl might have been a character that they just kind of, slinged in there to have it connect with Merle, so that they would have to do that and everything. And that's just kind of the way it sort of worked out. But that's really, really funny if you think about it, that originally he was not in the comics, so he was an add-in character, so was Merle. And it's just funny the way things have worked out. And then to hear from him now that he literally thought he would only be around for an episode or two. And he also kind of thought, from the looks of things, that he was sort of like a bad guy. Like he was an outsider. He was coming in, maybe like a villain or something of the sort. And really it ended up being that Merle was kind of the hardcore villain. And Daryl was sort of in the middle, right? Between. And then it says, I was like, just get me in the room. I'll go in and do a guest spot. Reedus recounted to GQ in 2014. So I'll just do so he thought it was a guest spot, right? That's funny. Reedus went in twice, reading Merle's lines both times, and was spun off into his own role after impressing the showrunner Darabont. So originally it was Frank Darabont's call to make Daryl, right? That's funny. The younger Dixon brother swiftly proved a hit with audiences, and Reedus went on to become the series' top-billed actor. It's crazy, man. So that's it. You guys can read that through. Let me know what you think about that. That's really funny the way things work out. That originally he thought that he wouldn't really be in the series for very long, like a couple episode villain type of deal, and then would have gotten killed off or something, or he must have assumed. And somehow he just was there. He just continued to be there, and then he got to do some kind of badass cool things and some fun stuff in season 2 and that. Like, I remember when he kills the one walker for is it T-Dog, and pulls them on top of himself. That's pretty awesome, right? I don't know if that was his idea or if that was their idea to put that in for, like, oh, let's give Daryl some badass stuff, right? It's like, I don't know whose idea it was, but however it worked out is absolutely great, man, for sure. And I don't think anybody would have expected to see him still alive at this point, or predicted that if you look at the earlier seasons. I know I certainly didn't. I kind of looked at it like, oh, who is this guy? Maybe he's some kind of filler character or something. Pretty funny. The Walking Dead, so there's another one too about him saying that a love scene for Daryl would be super awkward, and you guys can also leave your comments below on what you think about that one. He says, quote, he's like a flamingo or a penguin. I think if he's going to find it, he's going to stick with it. The Walking Dead star told the IMDb show, there's a lot of nookie going on in our show. I don't and I'm not in any of it. I did kind of convince everybody that I was kind of a virgin and kind of a loner early on in the seasons, and I think they kind of ran with it for a while. I feel like Daryl doesn't really have any game, so it doesn't have game at all. So if he does do a love scene, or if he does do some kind of relationship thing, it would have to be super odd and super awkward for him, right, to do it. When it happens, it's going to be a big deal. So if they do it, when it happens, it's going to be, a big storyline. So we'll see. Maybe in the future for Carol, if she's still alive in a few seasons, maybe they'll go that route, or maybe they won't, or maybe they'll never have a love interest for Daryl. Personally, I'm fine if they don't do, like, if they never have a love interest for Daryl at this point. I mean, they just went through a 6-year time skip, so after a 6-year time skip, it kind of makes you think, like, okay, maybe they're never going to do it if they didn't do it there. And everybody else, they did it like everyone else, right? So some good stuff there, and you can read through the rest of his questions about Daryl being gay, and he said that he doesn't discount that, or he's not against it. I don't know. Daryl being gay, I don't know. Does it really matter? I mean, if they don't use him in a relationship with anybody, then I guess it really doesn't matter. So I guess right now we just kind of think of it as like probably won't see Daryl in a relationship with anybody, woman or man, right? Tom's Noctur left a good comment. He said in the Q&A the other day, he said, Alpha versus Daryl, loser takes a shower. So I did like that one. I thought it was a pretty good comment. Shamrock left a good comment about the Chandler Riggs situation. He said that he thinks, so he says, I blame his parents, probably, or they probably pushed him education, or they pushed him so hard towards education, like most parents do, In case he didn't make it as an actor, he probably had the time of his life being on The Walking Dead, but his parents were the kind to make sure he was tucked in bed at 9 p.m. and doing his homework, or his homework was done every night. We never got to grow, or he never got to grow into acting himself. They probably took the poor kid's confidence away as an actor when they told him to make sure he has options, which is a smart move in general, but he already, quote-unquote, made it according to a normal person's standard, being in a giant role in a TV show, and for several years in making it for a lot of people. There's always a chance to go back to school. Education will always be an opportunity. However, TV shows like this are opportunities that don't happen often. Yeah, basically nobody does. The funny thing about The Walking Dead, if you think about the top part and this part, it's almost like what they did was they took the characters that were least likely to survive, and those were the ones that survived. The ones that everybody thought were safe, or everybody just assumed would be in the series basically forever. Rick, Carl, some of the others earlier on, like even Maggie leaving and that kind of. So some of them have left. They haven't all been actually killed off. Like Rick's left and everything, right? But it's funny with The Walking Dead. It almost seems like what they did was the characters that were least likely to survive were the ones that did, and the ones that everybody assumed that would be there. Even Michonne now too are not going to be or won't be. So it's just kind of funny. But I thought it was a good comment about the whole questions about Chandler Riggs and Carl from the other day. So I decided to include it there, and I agree with what he's saying pretty much entirely. But then again, it's always good to have a plan B for sure. And he's got a million little things and other shows he's going to be working on, so that's good too. Les says, "Hey Trev, a big fan of the channel since season 6. Love The Walking Dead even now, but would love for you to do a top 10 songs used in The Walking Dead. They have great soundtracks every season. What's your favorite song? Mine is Serpents. Thanks, longtime fan." So thank you, Les. I have done top 10 best, theme songs or music for The Walking Dead that they've used in the series. Wye Oak Civilian, that's Shane's theme from season 2. Serpents you mentioned, and I think that's the trailer song for season 4, which was, yeah, I agree with you. That one's fantastic. I also like the theme song from start to finish, which is like a zombie theme. You can hear the zombies in the background in that they did for the mid-season finale for season 6. I love that one, going into No Way Out. It's a very cool theme. It's kind of like Deanna's theme, so that's a good one too. There's a lot, man. I'd have to sit down and really look through all the different theme songs they've used over the years. Arsonist Lullaby, really good. There's a lot of ones that are really, really good, and it'd be tough to just choose like what are the best. Over these top 10 videos, they get a lot more difficult to do as the years go by because there's so much stuff to look through. Like if I do one, I got to look through all these different, it used to be easier to do in seasons 3, 4, 5, 6. Now that we have, 9 years to go through pretty much, it's tricky to do. But I could do something like that again. I mentioned for you some of mine there, with probably Wye Oak Civilian being the maybe my all-time favorite Walking Dead theme. That one still sticks out to me. Serpents is good, Arsonist Lullaby is good, but Wye Oak Civilian I think is really cool. You guys can listen to it online. Just look it up in the YouTube engine after you're done with this video, and you can listen to it. It's an awesome theme for Shane the series. And I heard that Punisher got canceled, so I might do a video on that in the next couple of days. Mr. Kwame D 86 says, Morgan told Coral to never apologize. Don't apologize, Coral. So yeah, it's true, man. It's kind of sad to hear him apologize, because that's funny. That's a clear line. He said, don't ever be sorry, son, right? That he says to him. So that's funny that he did it. Lane James told him not to. Morgan said, don't ever be sorry, son, for what you have to do. And it's true, man. Like, I didn't like the. Yeah, whatever. It's cool, And also, by the way, I should also add that I think that was actually from a little while ago, but it was just posted online in news, so I thought back of it then. Lucille Levin says, as long as Gimple was calling shots, Carl would have been killed off anyway. I mean, overall, he kept Judith alive this whole time to take over Carl's spot. It was Gimple's master plan the whole time. So he's saying here, no matter what Chandler Riggs did, no matter what it was, this was going to happen anyway, and it didn't matter. And then the last one, also regarding basically the same kind of thing, so we'll just make it quick. Lethal Weasel VR basically went through to say that he thinks that the reason why they did it was because of his contract ending, and that they'd signed him on for another 3 years for Carl, which would have been like, I think, 8, 9, and 10 or something like that. And but at that time, they basically did that and then decided to kill him off, kind of maybe because the contract was more lucrative or something. So they signed him on for it, and then they axed him pretty much right away to get him in the show, to get him on, and then to kind of kill him off at that point. And he also went in to say that if they had let Chandler win, so get what he wanted to in terms of him holding out for a little bit more money in the contract negotiations, which maybe this is true, maybe it's not. Then it would create a situation where everybody would hold out for more money, which is basically what's happened anyway, right? People like Lauren Cohan, who plays Maggie, and Andrew Lincoln, he got paid really well. So they chose to make an example out of him, to show the entire cast that no one is irreplaceable, but it backfired. When the cast saw how this kid, who they had watched grow up, was screwed over by the company they all worked for, they wondered who might be next. Maybe it would be they who ends up being screwed over next time. So that is one thing that's true, is that if you're an actor or you're in the show and you sign on for a contract for Walking Dead for a certain amount of years, that doesn't mean necessarily that you're going to survive all those years. At some point, they could decide to kill you off, and basically your contract would pretty much end at that time because you're not alive anymore in the show to continue. So one thing about it is when they decide to do Walking Dead instead of something else, you don't really have to worry about being killed off in Whiskey Cavalier. You don't really have to worry about being killed off in, a comedy show or a drama or something like that. It doesn't happen all that often. The Walking Dead, they kill people off all the time. So unless they could get the contract to where it actually says that I'll sign it, but you can't kill me off until a certain time, unless they could do that, which they also probably won't ever do that. It makes sense that people would want to leave also, too, because they don't want to have the same thing happen to them, and I'm sure they all heard about that, and it's tricky, right? You don't know about the stuff behind the scenes, but I am glad to hear that Andrew Lincoln is going to be doing the Walking Dead movies, and who knows, maybe if we could see Carl come back for a dream sequence or something like that in the movies, that'd be really cool, even if it's just for like a partial scene or something. I don't know. That'd be pretty sweet, a vision of Rick's or something. A dream. That'd be really cool. Anyway, that'll be it for today's Q&A, guys. I'll see you back again, of course, tonight for the review for episode 11 now. And if you liked it, leave a comment below. Leave questions for the Q&As. Let me know what you think about Daryl thinking, Norm Reedus thinking he wasn't going to make it after a couple episodes. Now it's like over 125 episodes later. Thumb out the video, share, favorite it, and subscribe if you're new. Thank you, guys, and I'll see you back tonight. It's Trav saying peace. Later, guys. See ya.